गणानान्त्वा घनपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतान् शृण्वन्नोतिभिस्सेदसादनं प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवते दीनामवित्रयवतो गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम। ओम साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Sai Ram Lin.
Sai Ram Sharma. And thank you, Bhagwan, for letting Sharma and I distribute some information to you that I have held in my heart for many, many years regarding the Lingam. Lingam comes from the Sanskrit root Li, meaning merges. It is this form, the Lingam, which is oval in shape, if Swami has produced it, or very rarely circular. But it is an egg-shaped holy object. It's the easiest way I can explain it to my Western listeners. And of course, for my Eastern listeners, you will know what the Lingam is if you are familiar with Bhagwan's ability to do this. He has been seen and filmed producing the Lingam both with a wave of his hand or during Mahashivaratri. For many years, he produced a lingam from his mouth. And they were usually one or sometimes two or three. And when he produced a gold lingam, he said that he had gathered together in his body, in his stomach, all of the gold that was in his body to produce the lingam, which he then brought up through the esophagus and out of his mouth. Sometimes the lingam was so large he could barely get it out of his mouth. And this is a topic of great mystery and wonder and of the most supreme sacredness. Indeed, Swami, when he wants to call you something lovingly, he will call you Bangaru, which means golden one. And that's what we all are. But most of us don't realize that. I'd say 99.9% of people do not realize that they are a golden one. And yet all of us are. And I will explain this through a story that about Mata Betty, who was our group leader for many unforgettable trips to Swami. In one interview, Swami had a group of Australian healers, people who worked with healing unwell people of terrible illnesses. They were from Australia, but Mata Betty had been called in with that group. And Swami was, with a wave of his hand, producing a lot of little lingams. They were quite small, about the size of a small sweet or maybe even a fingernail. They were that tiny. And he was handing them out. They were different colors, and some of them were more of a brownish color. Others were pink, yellow color. And Mata Betty had a thought when she saw all these Australians getting little lingams. She thought, for me, Swami, am I going to get one too? Of course, she didn't say this out loud, but Swami can read every thought the moment it comes into being. And he swung around to Mata and he said, not for you, the lingam is inside you. How mysterious is that? The lingam is inside you. Now, lingams are the most beautiful objects. I have to say, I have seen several of them. He created 5 of them for a dear friend of mine, one right after the other, different colors and different sizes. And he said these lingams embody the power of the 5 elements and the 5 senses. And these lingams exude vibhuti. constantly, and they receive abhishekam every morning, and then that water is distributed for people who are sick or unwell. Very powerful. Swami said these were some of the most powerful lingams on earth. I saw another lingam he produced for a devotee here, which is known as the New Zealand lingam. It is a dark green in color, almost black, with a marking in it like the moon. And of course, the lingam is connected to Lord Shiva. Now, Swami was, his form, he always said, I am Shiva Shakti. And so any lingam that he produced, I believe, has both the power, the supreme power, Shiva Shakti becoming a lingam. Now, how can the lingam be inside you? I pondered this a lot, and of course Mata and I spoke about it privately, because she never received a lingam. She herself was, once she realized that within her, as within us all, is this great flame composed of little, now we are all little sparks of this great flame that is God. That is the God within us. We are a manifestation of God. We are the concrete presentation of his divine play, his power, his Shakti, his potentiality, his truth, and his beauty. Swami once said that and when Swami would create a lingam, he would also sometimes create a little base to put it on, something to hold it, because it's egg-shaped, and it's going to roll around if you put. So he would make a beautiful little base sometimes for the lingam, and he would say this base is it's something flat with a shape in it that the cylindrical lingam can be placed. The base is Satyam, truth. The lingam is Sundaram, that is beauty. Swami said the base is the flower, the lingam is the perfume. The base is like the wind, the formlessness, and that the lingam carries the fragrance. And I thought that was a most beautiful expression of how the lingam appears. Now, it is also the symbol of Mangalam, which is auspiciousness. That is Shivam. Truth, or Satyam, is the basis on which the whole universe and all that is created in it rests. The lingam calls all of us to live up to this glory, truth, beauty, and auspiciousness. That is who we are. That is the lingam inside of us. You have to realize the truth and demonstrate truth in thought, word, and deed. There's a saying, be true to thine own self. Another saying is, the truth shall set you free. Surely these are words upon which man may reflect. Because truth is what makes you strong and steady. That's the Shiva aspect. It makes you realize that you are kith and kin with all, that you are free from the poison of anger and greed, and that truth within you nullifies the anger and greed. Anger and greed wants to harm the whole world. The truth in you wants to spread consolation and comfort everyone who is suffering. Because so many people are suffering. They're suffering from fear. They're suffering from persecution. They're suffering from illness. And the Shakti that is represented in the lingam is the beauty, the feminine aspect, the motherliness that all of us, even a man, can experience a feeling of motherliness. It's true. And Swami is very clear. The lingam is inside of all of us. He once said that Earth's subtle cosmic form is a crystal lingam. Can you imagine that? Even the Earth Mother Earth has a spiritual form, a crystal lingam. And each country has the form of the lingam as well. That is why I believe Swami made the New Zealand lingam for one of our devotees, very fortunate devotee. So we are a manifestation of God. We are that truth and beauty. We are that flower. We are that perfume. We are that wind that carries the fragrance of the flower. How can we not realize that we are God? It's already within us. The lingam is inside you.
Sai Ram.
So, I will speak about some Lingam experiences that were shared with me. Howard Murfitt of Australia related a story to me of how Swami created a lingam for a princess and told her to take good care of it. You have to recite a mantra and do abhishekam, bathe the lingam with water every day, because these are very, very powerful objects, but they must be taken care of. In fact, when I asked a friend of mine what it was like living with the lingam that his wife had been given, he said to me, it is like living with the Pope. And anyway, Swami had created this lingam for this princess. He knew that she desired one, and she took it back home. But she was not disciplined enough to take care of it, and it's not a good idea if you don't take care of it, because some bad things might begin happening. And so one day the lingam vanished. It came back to Swami. So the princess, went to see Swami crying. The lingam has disappeared, Swami, and some unpleasant things have happened in the family. What to do? And Swami said, you did not take care of it. What can I do? And then she pled with him and said, Swami, please, at least let me see the lingam. So Swami sat quietly for a moment. Of course, he was downstairs. There was some stairs leading upwards in this particular place where he was giving the interview. Suddenly there was a loud noise from upstairs, and the lingam came bouncing down the steps. The lingam he had created for her came out of another dimension and came bouncing down the steps, making a racket as it came down, plop, pa-da-da, 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 and landed at the lady's feet and then rolled towards Swami. An extraordinary story, and this is related by Howard Murfitt in, I think it is Man of Miracles. Another wonderful lingam story is that Swami was talking about Lord Shiva, and he decided to create a lingam to illustrate the power and majesty, and he created a Jyoti lingam. This is a clear crystal lingam that has a two-colored flame burning in it that changes color. And this was the kind of lingam that is underneath the Somnath temple in Somnath. That lingam was, Swami said, originally placed there by Lord Shiva himself to protect the temple. But the temple was attacked and razed many, many times. And in May 1970, Swami traveled to Somnath and drew that lingam out from deep within the ground where it was, and he recharged that lingam. There is the full record of this. If you Google Sathya Sai Baba and the Somnath lingam, you will be able to read the Radio Sai account of this miraculous event. And the lingam now is safely restored, again, deep in a private altar room. No one may look upon this lingam except the priests that are taking care of it. It is no longer deep in the ground. But a friend of mine visited Somnath recently. He said even though he was outside of the private altar room, which he was not allowed to enter, he could feel the power of that lingam. And that is one of the most powerful lingams on earth. Vijaya Amma, in her book Badri Yatra, when she accompanied Sathya Sai he was at a young age, he went to Badrinath to recharge the lingam that was placed there in another dimension by Adi Shankara. centuries and centuries ago. It had lost its power. Swami told them all to wait outside the temple, Badrinath. He went inside, and they all heard a terrific rumbling sound, like a train coming, and they were all frightened. Swami came out of the temple holding a beautiful tray. The lingam was sitting on a base, and there were also several small idols that he had materialized of Shiva and Shakti. And he said, "Don't be afraid." And he began to materialize pearls and little gold trefoils, the symbol of Shiva, 108 of each, and he began to pour them over the lingam to recharge its power. And everyone who was there received a pearl and a trefoil. Om Shri Sai Ram.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Tasmat karunya bhavena rakcha rakcha Saishwara. Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Saishwara Arpanamastu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.